Hey guys, how's it going? Matt here with another episode of Nuance. If somebody said that there were no hobbies in China except womanizing, drinking, or thinking that you're cool, is that person being stupid, disingenuous, ignorant, or malicious? That's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. Hey guys, I'm in Ningbo right now. Actually, I'm walking through Gulo in the morning. Gulo means drum tower, and that's Gulo, the drum tower. That building there, at least the yellow part, has been here for long time, centuries. The little clock tower on the top, which is just precariously set up there, that was added later. I always hated that because it's like this beautiful traditional pagoda style tower, and then you've got this funny modern-esque brick clock tower on top of it. Anyways, this video isn't about that. This video is about Winston Sterzel and a thing that he said. Yes, I'm going to dip back into that little pot of craziness because I think it's important. Winston has a big audience, and I don't really care so much about his audience that understands some sort of relationship with China. Let's say they're an expat, or they're an expat like me who simply doesn't like China. That's okay. You can use your life in China as context to what he says. But I think the large percentage of the people that watch his videos are people with preconceived notions of a negative view of China based on what they've seen in media or their family or whatever, or what their ideas of communism or socialism is. And so they feed off of any sort of trifling negativity that he feeds in his videos, and I want to push back against that. So he made a video recently called "Why Did China Invent the Social Credit System?" Now this video, the purpose of it was to kind of say, I know how China created this social credit system and why they did, and I'm going to tell you. And he stands out with a green screen behind him because he's not in China anymore. He uses pre-recorded video of that people send him, and he just kind of blathers on about what he thinks. And that's the thing. So what he thinks is the reasoning, but he says it so authoritatively that people will listen to him and say, well, this guy must be speaking the truth. The video is full of information that is either irrelevant today, that is overblown, or is completely made up. I'm going to focus on his statement about hobbies, I'll get to in a second. But let me quickly go through the video because there was other things in it that I found very disingenuous. In it, he talks about how the social credit system needs to help control society because it's sort of out of control in China.
You can just start a business. Most of my Chinese friends who started businesses, who wanted to hire me to work at training centers or whatever, they didn't have business licenses. It's not legal to run a business out of an apartment like a residential complex, but they do it anyway. And if it works out and you start to get a little bit successful, then you worry about the paperwork. Because until you reach a kind of a level of success, no one's really going to care.
You know, I know a lot of people that work under the table jobs or cash jobs all over the world. America is one of those countries too. I would mow lawns. I would see people doing snow because I lived in Detroit. People would shovel snow for cash, and some of those businesses got quite large, and they sort of stayed off the books if you knew how to run them. That's sort of like an example of some things that he says that are, this is what makes China bad, but it's something that all countries do. And all people in all countries have an opportunity to kind of make money under the table. Maybe it's not legal, but it's not like it's a China problem. So that's just an example of something he said in the video. He focused on it. In it, he tries to show the fact that China is sort of like the wild, wild west. And he says, you can drink your beer out in the open in China.
You'll also be like, why is it that people can sit around and drink in public? That's awesome, right? Because let's face it, most Western countries, you can't do that.
China isn't the only country that allows you to walk around with a beer in your hand. I find that as a very nice thing. So he shows these two girls who are drunk outside of, not even outside of a bar. They're just drunk in the street. And one is not as drunk as the other and is trying to help her home or help her to a taxi cab, or just help her friend. I think all of us can appreciate that if we've ever gotten drunk or drank.
Why is it that people can sit around and drink in public?
It doesn't really back up his point that people are open drinking, because they don't have bottles in their hands. They're literally just drunk on the street. I think you can go anywhere in the world, especially America, at the bar street, and in any evening, in any morning maybe, and find a couple of people that have pushed the limits of their bodies with regards to alcohol. This is an example of him using false context to back up a broad claim. There's open drinking, it's chaos is crazy, it's a wild, wild west, and so he shows, what clip does he show? Two girls who aren't holding, they're not backing up his claim that there's open drinking. They could have drunk inside the club, and now they're on the street drunk. And he's saying this thing. It's just keep an eye on that, because he does that a lot. So keep an eye on those things when you watch his videos, and make sure that you're not being propagandized, and he's not showing you some image that doesn't have anything to do with this claim, but still is something that he thinks will give you that nasty feeling, like, oh, these people are drunk, oh, that's bad. Well, there's a lot of drunk people in this world. He also goes on to talk about how bribes and grifting in government and just in general in business is pretty popular and normalized here in China. And I would say that, yes, that is true. It's a lot less than it used to be, much, much less.
So this has always been a very interesting part of living in China for me anyway. From the lowest of the low street sweepers who pretty much sit there and play the stock market in the middle of the road while not paying attention, to the top execs who are doing business transactions and under the table stuff and giving bribes and whatever. It's a gray area.
He's funny, he's talking about this stuff from America where there's like legalized bribes called lobbyists, and the country is basically being controlled by corporatism, and basically money can turn people's heads with regards to the legal system or regulations or all numbers of things. It's funny, in China they call it guanxi, which is the power of relationships, but in America it's just lobbyists, you know. So again, keep your mind open to what he's saying and understand that he's painting a picture of China without giving you proper context. He also goes on to say something really wild.
You've got things like organ harvesting. Why do you think it is that you can go to China and order a liver or something like that and get it within like a week?
A liver in a week? How many livers are you ordering, Winston? I've lived in China for 10 years, been traveling to China for 15, and this whole organ harvesting thing is crazy to me. And when he makes it sound like it's like a McDonald's drive-thru, no, that is being completely disingenuous. The video itself is problematic. The segment I really want to focus on is his quote about hobbies. Hobbies in China.
You can also never really pursue the things that you enjoy, at least from a hobby perspective in China, because China hasn't reached that level of maturity in society where hobbies are actually a thing. And don't take my word for it. Just go to China and try to do anything that you normally would do. See if you can find a club or an outlet for your hobbies, and see for yourself, you know, unless your hobbies are drinking and womanizing and, you know, just walking around thinking you're cool.
Now, first off, in China, the only hobbies they have are drinking, womanizing, and thinking you're cool. And this comes from a guy who really enjoys his beer. I know Winston, he enjoys his beer, and he wears a suit and glasses in Shenzhen, which is a very, very hot city. If you're ever traveling around the world, you end up in Shenzhen. Shenzhen is a very, very hot place. And he wears his glasses and suit because he thinks it's cool. And he thinks other people are going to give him more respect because he wears it. I know, I've talked to him about it. So maybe you only think that there's womanizing, drinking alcohol, and thinking you're cool because the only thing you like to do is drink, think you're cool. I never saw him womanizing, but I don't know, man. What are you saying about yourself? Because it's certainly not about China. Those are the only hobbies in China. Who are you kidding? If this man who says he's lived in China for 15 years says something so obtuse, so general, so false, it has to go and inform you about the rest of his opinions on China. I might be a bit pro-China, I might be a bit open-minded about China, maybe a bit naive, but I would rather be open-minded than so close-minded that you don't even know anything about this country after living here for 15 years. I mean, this guy says in his videos many times that he is a hero for the Chinese people. I am a hero for the Chinese people. It's just the Chinese government I don't like. His opinion of the Chinese people, if this is true, at least the male population, because it's kind of funny he says womanizing, because he's not really even including anything for women. Because I doubt there are many women out there that enjoy womanizing, and that's one of the only hobbies that you can do in China. But the male population, he thinks, is so inept, so immature, so uncivilized, that the only thing you guys really enjoy doing is drinking, womanizing, and thinking you're cool. Congratulations, Chinese people. That's what the professional vlogger, the original China vlogger, thinks of men in China in general. Now we'll get into this more a little bit later, but it's very, very interesting why he thinks this thing. It's because their thinking is very myopic, and I say they as in Matt Tai and Winston Sterzel, because the two of them are together. Their thinking is extremely myopic. It's very self-centered. Because they are men, they don't really think about what women like to do, because they enjoy fixing up old cars and driving around gas-powered motorcycles. You'll see more about that. That's why they think, well, they don't have my hobbies, and the only hobbies I enjoy doing here that I can do are womanizing, thinking I'm cool, or drinking, you know. I mean, I'm walking through Zhongshan Park, Zhongshan Guangchang. It's a tough thing to kind of chew through. Now, I'm here at 7:18 in the morning. I mistimed China because I had planned to come here and see a lot of people doing hobbies, because if you come here at about 5:30 in the morning, before it starts getting too hot, before the sun rises, just on dawn, this area behind me, you wouldn't even really be able to walk down it. There are so many people here doing so many things. You might even construe them as hobbies. I would even doubt that if you came here at 5 o'clock in the morning, you could find anybody womanizing, drinking, but you might find some old people thinking they're cool, doing any number of things. So I started just brainstorming the hobbies that I have known since the 15 years I've come to China. And I would like to tell you about them right now. And I don't think any of them will fit into the category of womanizing or drinking alcohol. Although drinking alcohol is a pastime in China for some people, just like drinking alcohol. Fine alcohol is a pastime of people in all parts of the world. But this might take a little while. Oh, speaking of pastimes, this guy is Tai Chi, so he's got his little uniform on to do and practice Tai Chi. Ni hao. It looks so comfortable. Those outfits are so comfortable, like silk. So I'm gonna tell you all of the hobbies that I've experienced here in China. I had to write them down because there's a lot of them. Let me go through. And if you really want to skip through this, you might want to hit the fast button and go a little bit quicker, because this might take a while. Okay, let's see. Hobbies in China. Distance swimming. There's a lot of people that enjoy swimming long distances. They'll have a little floaty behind them and they'll swim across a river every morning, or do longer distance swimming. Ice swimming. I've done that in the northern parts of China, where you jump in the freezing cold water. That's kind of like an interesting hobby. Sewing needlepoint was something I did in JaYoe. Sewing silk needlepoint is something very popular. Photography. I've traveled with photography clubs all over China. It's very, very popular, especially going to the ancient parts of China, the villages. Scuba diving. Scuba diving is becoming more and more popular, but I'm part of a number of scuba diving groups and WeChat groups that do take tours all over and doing freshwater and saltwater diving. Kite surfing and surfing, which is really popular in the south of China, especially on Sanya and around the more tropical parts of China. Mountain climbing, very, very popular. There's all sorts of different places that you can do mountain climbing all over China. China has a very mountainous terrain once you get to the western side of the country. Rock climbing, now that's different from mountain climbing. That's really popular in Yongshuo and Guilin, and they have these really, really beautiful, I call them earthly acne, these kind of pimples that just pop out of the ground, and you can climb those, free climb those, rock climbing. RV camping adventures, these are more popular today than they used to be, but they're becoming a very, very popular pastime. Entrepreneurship, which you wouldn't think is a hobby, but I know a lot of people that open up Taobao stores selling all sorts of things, and they use it as a hobby. They like build a business online and I mean, these are really, really smart people. Certainly not womanizing, drinking, thinking they're cool. They're actually building businesses. My friend actually started a multi-million-dollar business as a hobby, selling outdoor merchandise. Art. Oh, somebody's got an Erhu. Art. People are painting. People are sculpting. People are doing any number of things as a hobby. Performance arts like dancing or Chinese opera or makeup on their face, decorating themselves. These are very, very popular. Pet clubs and breeders, people that breed dogs, cats, lizards, fish, birds, small mammals, guinea pigs, you name it. Aquariums or reef keeping, that's personally one of my big hobbies. I know a bunch of people in the reef keeping hobbyist genre. English clubs, where they share English language. Language clubs are very, very popular here to learn English and actually grow their English learning. Wine clubs, selling wine. Hiking, finding interesting places, going out on the weekend and doing a hike with your buddies. Cycling, whether it's long distance or racing. Cycling's big. Cycling's really big. People putting on spandex and riding all over the cool place. Cooking and eating. I say eating, but eating is it's like a pastime. People will go around and try culinary food from all over the country. Video games are very popular. Less so than I think they used to be. They used to be like internet cafes used to be crazy, but mobile gaming is very popular. Claw machine playing. You know those claw machines that pick up toys at the arcades? In China, people do this as a pastime, and they'll claw all sorts of products and then sell them on Taobao. It's very interesting. Fishing. Now, fishing has all sorts of subgroups. There's cormorant fishing. There's solo stick fishing, where somebody just has a stick that collapses. It's a very, very no reel, just a stick with a string on the end of it. High seas fishing and netting fishing, where they throw a net in the water and they catch fish. Fitness, gym rats. That's a newer hobby that's become more and more popular. People are really getting into like that American style of fitness, where they're getting all woke. Wrestling, baseball, judo, shooting, karaoke, KTV, Tai Chi, which you'll see, which you saw that guy's outfit. Meditation, people center themselves as their personal hobby. Kung Fu, group travel tours, where people will get together and do huge tours where they'll go different parts of the world, traveling around the world. Solo global travel, they'll do solo global travel. Group dancing, where in the Guangchang, right here actually, I was trying to catch it, but I feel like I was a little bit late. But this whole park will be full of people dancing and doing group dancing every evening. Jazz, hip hop, pole dancing, traditional dancing, traditional clothing. That's a hobby for people who collect traditional clothing or actually mend and make traditional clothing. Yoga, playing the stock market. That's a very, very popular pastime for people here in China. And they make a lot of money with it. Collecting antiques, classic cars, Lamborghinis. Lamborghinis aren't antiques, but people will collect even Lamborghinis and BMWs. They collect different currency, the old ancient Chinese currency. I knew a guy that collected currency through the Cultural Revolution and way back into past China. Way, 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 way back. Like, China's got thousands of years of history and an interesting currency history as well. Drones has become a really interesting pastime for people to fly drones. Paragliding, parachute flying, triathlons, marathons, running. And recently there was an accident of a triathlon where a bunch of people passed away It was kind of big news here before. Mikey, just to let you know, I do know about the news here in China. That's kind of an inside joke on one of my haters. But yeah, I do know these things. I might not tell them in my videos all the time, but I do know about them, and it's tragic. Flying kites is very, very popular. People fly kites here, and then they'll put all these LEDs on kites. At one point in time, I was thinking, this might be a fun hobby to bring to America. LED kites, and they're really big. They're bigger than I am tall, and they send them way up there, and they look like spaceships. They're pretty amazing, and people come out every night, fly their kite. Skydiving and extreme sports is one. Snowboarding, skiing, ice sculpting in Harbin is very popular. Gardening, agricultural. You'll see people with their home garden, or they're growing some sort of fruit, or they're growing some sort of flower. I knew a guy whose focused, his whole hobby was growing this one type of flower. It was pretty interesting. Feng Shui is a hobby. Woodworking, stoneworking, like granite, glass blowing. You'll find a lot of people that will be blowing glass in all sorts of different shapes. Chinese cricket collecting, which is very, very interesting, like grasshopper and crickets, these really, really big ones. They'll put them in these little houses and they'll chirp every night. Techno, house music. This is the hobby for some more young people going and partying. Coppersmithing. I went to a coppersmith in Lijiang, and I saw his hobby, and his livelihood was built around his hobby of coppersmithing, which was pretty amazing. The guy was interesting. Honey farm. What do you call honeys farms? Yeah, right? Honey farms. Basically, having a bunch of bees and cultivating them to produce your own honey. That's very popular here in China. Pottery, sculpting pottery, coffee and tea. Tea is a huge hobby. Tea, collecting tea from all parts of the world, understanding how to present the tea, how to serve the tea. That's an art in itself, and a hobby in a lot of ways. And coffee now is becoming that way too. There's a thing called tuolo, which is like they have these tops, and they whip them and they spin them, and they're actually big tops. They do it in these parks, but again, we're too late for that. Jiangzi, which is Chinese hacky sack, which is pretty cool. It's not really like a hacky sack that you might know in America, but they boom, boom, they hit this like feathered little badminton sort of birdie, and they hit it on their foot, which is kind of neat, and they pass it around to their friends, or they just sit alone and try and keep the bird flying as long as they can. Calligraphy. Oftentimes you come to these parks, you'll see a guy with a huge Maobi. When I say Maobi, it's basically the brush that they use for calligraphy. But these Maobis are huge, and you'll find people that will have a bucket and they'll dip the Maobi in water, and they'll be painting calligraphy on the street that will end up evaporating after a very short time. But also calligraphy, obviously, in your home with black ink and using a smaller Maobi, and that's an art form. Chinese language as the art form. Mahjong, Chinese chess. Wei Qi, singing. People just enjoy singing. Understanding history. I put that down because there's a lot of history here in China, and there's a lot of people that make it sort of their own pastime to understand the history of either the place they live or the history in China. It's kind of an interesting pastime hobby. Reading books. I don't read as many books as I should, but books are extremely popular here. I sort of feel like they've kind of become less and less popular in the world as people are plugged into their phones. But China has retained that sort of book knowledge, and you might be surprised at what types of books. You can find books here on the Cultural Revolution. You can find books here on Chinese history that you might think isn't taught here in China. You can find books on American democracy, and you can find books on almost anything written in Chinese for Chinese people to learn. They're not as close-minded as I think you might be informed. Badminton, soccer, ping pong, walking is a hobby. People walk all over the place every morning. It's like their big thing. Basketball, handball, golf. Golf is a big hobby more and more. Hitting trees. You'll find Chinese people that'll go around and they'll hit a tree for about 45 minutes. But I think that's more therapy, but I just think it's kind of funny. Bird watching. They love to watch those birds that don't exist in China. If you don't understand that reference, then Winston once said that there's no birds in China. Well, there are birds in China, and people like to watch them. The simple act of making money. There are a lot of people here in China that had their pastime is making that cheddar. Flipping houses. I know a number of people that buy real estate and flip it, fix it up and flip it. Horseback riding. Tattoos. Tattoos is a big hobby. Language learning. There's people that spend time learning German or French or different languages, or becoming, what's that called when you learn multiple languages? There's a word for it. I forget. Boating. Riding boats. Or musical instruments. And when you say musical instruments, I mean, basically China has all the hobbies that America has, as well as hobbies that you wouldn't ordinarily see associated with the West. So they've got, like, I would have to argue, and I'd be willing to hear that in the comment section, that there are more hobbies in China than there are in the West. More like mainstream hobbies. Because like in the musical instrument realm, you have piano, violin, dizi, pipa, the guzheng, the hulusi. In fact, I play the dizi, which is the flute, and I also play the erhu, which I'll sit down at the end of this video and I'll play you the erhu. I'm not very good at it, but a lot of you guys have asked me to play the erhu, so I figured I'd come to the park and play the erhu for you. Those are just a few. I didn't even hit them all. Those are just a few of the hobbies that you can find here in China. So it's more than 3. I'm pretty sure it's more than 3. There is an interesting point that Winston made in his video when he actually brought, I'm not interested in bringing up his wife into the discussion so much, but because he brought her up. I think it was very, very telling what he said about her.
I was talking to my wife the other day and she was like, I'm bored, I don't know what to do. She goes to the shops and she looks for discounts, because that's kind of her hobby, is discounts. She can do shopping and things like that. Going to the park, going to a nice place, having food, different things.
Really? So she cannot find her passion in America. Now, I'm going to play the rest of it in a second, because he's going to make it her fault that she's just Chinese, so she doesn't understand the cool hobbies that are available to people in America.
But beyond that, it's actually very difficult for her to find a passion, because these kind of extracurricular passions and hobbies are not encouraged in China. They're seen as unnecessary, a waste of money, a waste of time.
But aren't you basically admitting that basically Sasha could make a video where she says America doesn't have the hobbies that China has, because I'm sure that Sasha has hobbies that she enjoys that you don't know about, Winston, that she enjoys doing in China, but she simply doesn't have access to in America. So firstly, maybe she just doesn't like your hobbies. Maybe she doesn't want to do the things that you like to do. Just similar to the way you don't like to do the things that Chinese people might like to do here. Of the ones I've listed, you probably don't enjoy doing any of those things. So in your opinion, there's no hobbies I enjoy, so there's no hobbies in China, right? Secondly, the things that you said in the example of things that she can do, bargain hunting, going shopping, going to eat, walking around in parks, I mean, are those things that you can't do in China? I mean, if you're trying to say that walking in a park is a hobby, or going out to eat is a hobby, which okay, then what are you saying that there's no hobbies in China? I gotta imagine that I sort of feel a bit sorry for Sasha if that's her status, that she's feeling very lonely and bored, that she's feeling bored. Because I can empathize, because she's probably used to living in China and having access to all of these interesting social activities and hobbies. And now she just doesn't have that same variety in America.
Anyway, this leads me to the segue. Some of you have seen this coming, but I want you to go and take a look at what my hobbies are. I'm now part of a society that allows me to legally own a motorcycle and drive it anywhere in the country. China, you can't. There are so many cities and provinces where you're not allowed to drive motorcycles. I'm able to buy old cars, which you can't do in China. Cars that are older than 12 years old used to have to be mandatorily scrapped. Not anymore, but...
So Winston said that you can't ride gas-powered motorcycles and you can't fix up old cars. There's not a lot of old cars These are two things that Winston really enjoys doing. Hello. These are things that Winston really enjoys doing, his hobbies, his pastimes. And he says, well, you can't do those in China. Are there places in China where you can't ride gas-powered motorcycles? Yeah, I live in one of them, Ningbo here. This city has banned most gas-powered motorcycles. Now, if you actually have a hobby, like an actual hobby, and you wanted to say buy a Harley Davidson, which, you know, American Harley Davidson, there's a few of my friends here in Ningbo that have Harley Davidsons. The permits are not cheap. They have to jump through a few hoops, but they can do it. It is available. This hobby does exist. It's not cheap though. Two-stroke engines and motorcycle engines, they're very, very pollutant. And when you have a city like this, Ningbo has 9 million people in it, and the cheapest form of transportation might be a motorized bike, they're going to choose the cheapest option. And if they have the ability to do that easily, do you know what this place would look like? Ho Chi Minh. I cycled through Ho Chi Minh. I cycled through Cambodia and Laos and all these different countries. I mean, I rode my bicycle, not like motorbike. I actually rode a bicycle. And if that system was here, this place would be smog ridden like crazy. They have a purpose behind not allowing and making it very difficult to ride motorized bikes inside the big cities. On top of it, it's loud. Motorized bikes are loud. And so noise pollution is something that I've heard brought up a number of times. They're trying to prevent the just sheer monstrosity of a million motorbikes riding up and down the streets all the time. Now, also one of the bigger things, they are trying to incentivize people to ride e-bikes. You can ride a bike. You can ride a bicycle, and you can ride an electric scooter any place in China. Very easily. You got to wear a helmet, but you can ride them anywhere. And China has said, noise and environmentally, it's much better to ride an e-bike. Let's incentivize people to ride e-bikes. It's the same reason that there's tax on cigarettes, because they would much rather have people stop smoking cigarettes, so they're going to put a tax on cigarettes. Maybe we'll get people to quit smoking. We'll put a tax on bikes. Maybe we'll get people quitting riding the motorized bikes, and they'll be riding the e-bikes. It's actually an environmental reason that they're doing this. If you have a hobby for classic cars, I have seen some amazing classic car clubs here in China. I've seen people buy old cars, fix them up. They've got to stay within certain regulations. Regulations are everywhere. But they also understand that, like, the catalytic converters and some of the emission system on a lot of these cars is the newer the better with regards to pollution. And so, yeah, there's regulations to follow. If you want an old classic car, you want to fix up an old car, you can do it. But there's hoops you got to jump through. Sorry. I find it funny that Winston, on the same breath, he will degrade China as this polluting environmental villain. And then, in the same breath, he will argue that he wants his ability to do his sort of polluting hobby, which is motorcycles and cars. And he will complain, say, damn China, they don't let people ride motorcycles, gas-powered motorcycles, or fix up old cars. Damn China, they're doing nothing to help improve their environment. Well, they're trying to improve their environment, but it just so happens to impact your hobby or your pastime. And even the sheer voicing of the fact that China isn't improving its environment it lacks nuance like crazy, because China is one of the leading producers of wind and solar and renewable energies in the world. Implementing wise, wind power, solar power, I've seen it. I've seen huge wind farms. Outside of my house in Ningbo, I see huge wind farms. But they're also the factory to the world. That's how their economy has been built, is to make products. And coincidentally, most of those countries that claim to be great environmental superheroes are producing their wasteful products here in China. So they're offsetting their pollution to China, and then they're blaming China How dare you make my products which pollute the world? You know, if all of those countries that make those products, most of their products in China, made their products in their own countries, they would probably have to open up a couple of extra coal power plants in order to do the job. Probably. But China is slowing the pace and has a lot of plans for environmental policies that would help in the future. So why did he make this video, right? That's some of the, I always like to ask that when I watch videos that I see are so counter to my life in China. Why are the people doing this? Is it celebrity? Is he trying to boost himself? Obviously, he's trying to be the authority on China. He always claims he's the original China vlogger. And by saying you're the original China vlogger, you give yourself authority. People will, oh, well, that's what Winston's been, the original China vlogger. So what he has to say is true, you know? He's pissed. He's a pissy little bitch. Sorry, Winston, you are. And so, because you can't do the hobbies as well as you would like with as much ease as you might be able to do in America, you say to yourself, there's no hobbies in China. None of my hobbies in China, so no hobbies in China. Just womanizing, drinking, and philandering, and thinking you're cool. Hello. Ni hao. The other reason he might be making this video is because he truly hates China. He's trying to make China out to be a bad place for some nefarious purpose. Hello. Ni hao. And so, I really hope that's not it, but he sure hasn't proven otherwise. Now, 3, the reason he made this video or said this thing is because Winston likes to fix up old cars. That's his passion. That's what he really likes to do. You think he really likes to lambaste China and talk politics all the time? I don't think so. I think he knows that's what makes him the most money. And that's probably number 4. It's going to make him money. You know, if you talk bad about China, you'll have a lot of people that will support you. If you talk good about China, unbeknownst to most people that believe that the CCP pays us ungodly amounts of money, we do this to our own detriment. To be honest, I say these things because I honestly believe that people need to hear these things, these good stories about China. It's not all bad. But Winston started up a YouTube channel with his friend Matt Tai, and it's called Worthless Whips, and I'll leave a link to it below. And he fixes up old cars, and he travels around now America, and that, I believe, was his dream when he came to America, was to primarily do this Worthless Whips channel. He thought his audience was going to switch over from China hate-mongering to Worthless Whips, and they just didn't. They just didn't respond. So what I want to do to you guys right now is please join his Worthless Whips channel. Give him a shout out from the JaYoe Nation. Tell him the JaYoe Nation sent you. Give him as much support as you can fucking possibly do, because the bigger that Worthless Whips grows, the less I think he'll focus on this crazy anti-China slander that he does. So go to the YouTube channel for Worthless Whips. Watch a couple of his videos. I don't care if you... I'm getting bit up by mosquitoes. I'm sorry. I keep looking down. I'm scratching my ankles. I don't care if, what your opinion is of... I don't care if you like Winston or hate Winston, whatever. Just give him some love on Worthless Whips. Get him off of this crazy train he's on. Because it leads nowhere good. Especially if he's saying shit like there's no hobbies in China. Why? Why are you saying that stuff? Because your butt hurt is why. Because your butt hurt. Your butt hurt. I really just want to fix up my cars and ride my motorcycles, and nobody's letting me. Well, they would, I think, if you follow the rules, and it might cost you a bit more than you'd like to spend. But that's not China's fault. That's your fault. So why is this bad? Why is saying, you know, there's no hobbies in China bad? Well, like I said in the beginning, if you're an expat in China and you leave here, and maybe you have a bad taste in your mouth, you might watch Winston's videos and be like, yeah, screw China. There's nothing there for me. No hobbies. Maybe you didn't leave your school and you were a teacher. Maybe you didn't leave your factory and you were a quality control guy. Maybe you went on a trip and you weren't happy. Maybe you didn't have the right apps on your phone to translate and feel comfortable here. And so if you watch his videos and feed into his hate, that's fine. If you're most expats like me, 99% of us, we know that he's a fool and what he's saying is bullshit. Those people I don't care. The people that I worry about the most are the people that don't know China at all. They're totally ignorant to China, and they use Winston's authority of being here for 15 years as gospel that anything he says is tried and true, inarguable, incontrovertible. He has a responsibility behind that moniker of the first China vlogger, and he wastes it by smearing China every chance he gets. It's disgusting, really. Hey, 你好。我是美国人，美国人，对对对对，我就在宁波10年了，对对对。在宁波哪边呢？在宁波什么地方 ？I'm sorry。宁波什么地方？哦，宁波鄞州。鄞州哪里？鄞州。Some friends coming to say hi. Hello. So, in summation, is there corruption in China, which was stated in the video? Yeah. Is there bribes and stuff? Yeah, just like pretty much every country. Maybe a little bit more than others, maybe a little bit less than others. Are there hobbies in China? I hope you understand that is a big hell yeah. Are there probably more hobbies in China than other places? Yeah. If somebody said that there were no hobbies in China, and then he also said that he's an authority on China, would he be lying? Maybe. You know, Winston in the video had an interesting quote, and I want to play it here.
You have to somehow keep people in check. You can't let people run amok and just do whatever they want, because it does lead to chaos.
You know, that's why they do these... Hello. That's why they do these regulations with motorbikes and cars, because they're, you know, that's what regulations do. Hello. You know, they keep people, you know, they keep society together. You just can't let things run amok. Hello. Anyways, I'm attracting a group. I'm gonna go play the Erhu somewhere and show you my Erhu playing, and then we'll end the video. But I hope I've given you some context and some nuance on this issue, because I find it very, very frustrating. Hello. I find it very, very frustrating when I hear people who have a real opportunity in China to balance the scales of understanding and bigotry, and instead they put 1,000-pound weight on the side of bigotry and castigation and ignorance, and they pop that thing down. And that's what Winston is doing with simple statements like that. And I'll try to illuminate when he makes these statements, because he makes a lot of them. So does Matthew Tai, so does even Joe Rogan. A lot of people are ignorant to China, you know. And step by step we can start making things a little bit more understanding. Hello. So this is my Erhu. And this is a pretty popular hobby here in China. It's an interesting instrument. This here is python skin, and it's stretched across like a drum, so this gives you that reverberation, and in the back the sound comes out the back. Then you have a bow that's made with horsehair. Most of the time it's made with horsehair if it's not synthetic. The word Erhu means two strings, so two hu strings, so there's one string and then two string, and you tune them up on top. So I'm gonna first rosin up the bow, because I'm losing some of the rosin. This is the rosin that you use, and you can actually rosin up the bow, which I will do now. Basically what this does is it makes the surface of the bow here very tacky, and it makes it really rub up against the strings in a gritty way, which gives you this sort of more of a gripping sound. And you want to get that rosin up and all around the bow. That'll give you the best sound possible. Now, I've been playing the Erhu very, very lightly for a few years. I am not as good as I would hope I'd be, but I don't practice as much as I should, but the sound is quite beautiful. You know, basically what I'm trying to say is that if you come to China and you only bring with you your perception of what you enjoy doing back in your home country, and you don't allow yourself to experience the hobbies of China, you might think that China doesn't have any hobbies. But that would be an extremely ignorant and uneducated way to experience another country, whether it's China or any of them. Because China is not the only country that bans motorcycles on some of their roads. I'm sure there's other ones as well. And the reason they do that is nuance. It's not because they're against you. So if you go to another country and say that they don't have what I want to do, and so they don't have any hobbies, I hope you understand how disingenuous that is. My face is probably very ugly when I play this. I get very focused. Anyways, if you guys come to China, please enjoy the hobbies that they have to offer. Try to learn something new. Maybe just don't stick with your old things that keep you happy. Maybe you'll find that there'll be some things in China that offer you some experiences that you're not accustomed to in your home country. Otherwise, like, subscribe, share, comment. We'll catch you in the next one, and hopefully I can dish you a little bit of nuance in the next one as well. And remember, even if you're not that good, you keep trying. You'll get better every time. JaYoe. It's so funny. I came here at I was thinking 6 o'clock in the morning was going to be good enough, but I think I have to come here at 5 o'clock in the morning in order to see this place really humming, you know. This is pretty cool. He's playing a xiao, which is it's a beautiful flute. Not easy to play, actually. You have to blow into the xiao in a different direction than, say, a dizi or another typical type of flute. Anyways, yeah, lots of interesting hobbies in China.